Hello and welcome to Friday morning, Top Fan Rivalry friends. We appreciate you. It is so exciting because it's been a couple of days since we've had ourselves a little College K. So back by popular demand, myself, Bill, and then we've got Dave over there. Dave, are you ready? How you doing? First of all, are you ready to talk some college baseball?
Absolutely. I've been watching a lot of college baseball. I was in Salt Lake watching the ASU Utah series, and I watched. Gosh, it all runs together now. Last weekend was the U of A series here in Phoenix, so a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. A lot of good baseball. As we do on the show all the time, we always want to start with the top 25. Dave, any surprises that you see in the top 25 with the movement this week?
Just a little bit. I mean, it was Tennessee had a tough week, so they dropped 5 spots. Not that that's a big deal because the SEC is so strong. Um, Arizona moved back into the top 25. Kind of saw that coming when they beat us 2 out of 3. Um, so that's really about it. A&M is still reeling, but they're starting to get it together with the 2 wins at Knoxville and Oklahoma State. Kind of surprised us and kind of took it to, I think it was K-State. So that was good to see them come around. They've been struggling for a while, so.
Yeah,
That's kind of what
yeah,
I noticed.
yeah. You were going to mention K-State, or I mean, Kansas itself went from unranked to 21st. Arizona breaks it with number
Hmm.
24, Virginia Tech at 25. You already mentioned Tennessee. Oklahoma goes from 10 to 19. Had a rough week at 23 and 8 overall. Arkansas goes from number 2 to number 1 at 30 and 3. What's in the water over there in Arkansas?
Arkansas is playing really, really well. I mean, good, really good SEC schedule. They're 11-1. Their one loss was to Ole Miss a few weeks ago, probably a month ago. Um, they've got a loss to Ole Miss and a loss to K-State. Those are quality losses, quality teams. Their other loss is Missouri State, not a great one, but with this strength of schedule, they can afford that. And they've got Georgia coming up this weekend. That'll be tough. And then they close the season with Tennessee at home. So, and LSU back to back. Actually, take that back. They go Texas, LSU, Tennessee back to back to back at the end of the season.
Yeah, so
Holy cow.
that should be a walk in the park, no problem.
Yeah.
That
Two
that
of them
doesn't
are at
get you ready.
home, so that's good. But man, that's tough right there. So if they come out of that with a good record, no one's going to knock them out of that top spot.
100%. And so it'll get them ready for the tourney for sure because they'll be
Heck
playing
yeah.
playoff style baseball.
Heck yeah.
Any individual performances that you've seen that is worth mentioning?
Well, I was looking at some of the totals here for kind of season to date, and I know we look at some different stats now and then, and that's a good thing. We're not all looking at the same stuff. I'm looking at RBIs on the
Mhm.
hitting side and just looking at top to bottom, and you've got your top RBI guy in the country is at 57 through 33 games. Gosh, he's almost running 2 RBIs a game. Um, There's a couple guys here that stand out. Zaborowski and Georgia's got 51 RBIs and 31 games. That's a kid that was at Grand Canyon University not too long ago.
Mhm.
Um, Jackson Hugg is at Kansas, 49 RBIs through 34 games. Uh, Levu at UCLA, we saw UCLA earlier this year, 48 RBIs now in 32 games. So some good stuff there. There's a couple guys on this list from VMI, surprisingly. I mean, a junior first baseman, Fitzwater's got 46 RBIs. Torres leads the league in 57 RBIs. So that's good stuff.
The one of the stats that I was looking at, and I'm trying to pull up the actual stats. So Jack Oman of Yale, which is a huge baseball school, right? Everybody thinks Yale, they
Mhm.
think baseball. He's got a .23 ERA. And so what I'm trying to figure out is how many innings that goes to, and he's the first year. So he's a freshman. So I'm really trying to figure out what,
I'm looking at the stats. He's got 38 innings.
okay. So 38 innings.
He's given up 20 hits, 5 runs, only one earned, 49 strikeouts.
Yeah, that is just absolutely 4
And
and
he's a
0.
freshman. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, he is a freshman, yeah.
It's crazy.
38.1 innings, like you said, 20 hits, one earned run, 11 walks, 49 strikeouts, and a .23 ERA. So, he's tossing a little bit.
A little bit. That's pretty good stuff right there.
Yeah, 38 innings and a .23 ERA. That's something we're saying, right?
Yeah, we got gosh, probably 20 guys with more than 60 strikeouts now on the pitching side.
Hmm.
Liam Doyle at Tennessee leading the pack at 81. Opponents batting 162 against him. It's crazy. Um, but I got to shout out Jack Martinez at Arizona State, which is the team I'm following, and 65 strikeouts and 45 innings. And he's been lights out just about every start. Really, really good.
Yeah, really, really good. Yeah, there's a couple on the you're mentioning the defensive side now, and I had mentioned that I'm gonna switch over to the offensive side for a second. Grant Gallagher over at ETSU, 31 games, 17 home runs. I don't care
Hmm.
who you are, that means you're connecting with the ball. Michael DeMarte over at Dayton has 63 hits. So again, those are good numbers. 17 home runs for some people is a season, and when you're doing it in 31 games, that means you're connecting the sweet spot. No torpedo bats yet in NC2A.
I was also looking at just on base, just straight up on base percentage.
Hmm.
And the same guy I was talking about at Georgia Zaborowski, right? He's got 130 plate appearances, and he's on base 56% of the time. The leader in all of college baseball is Trey Rutledge at Alabama A&M. Easy for me to say. 60% of the time, the kid's on base, and he's got 139 plate appearances. It's not a small number.
Well, what's he doing the other 40% of the time? I mean, come on.
Yeah, slacking, obviously.
Slacking, obviously. Man, that those are good numbers. And again, we mention this on the show every single time we do the show. We're talking in essence about young kids. We're not talking about the Jeters, the A-Rods, the guys that are doing it professionally and are getting paid to do it. We're talking about some of these kids are 18, 19 years old and they're playing next level baseball, and doing very, very well at it.
Yeah, and I was in the stands yesterday at the ASU game, and there was a pitching change, and the pitcher coming off the mound didn't do so great, and I'm hearing the crowd, like a guy behind me, basically saying, "I'm not clapping for that. I'm not clapping for a walk and 3 hits and 4 runs or whatever the heck it was." And I just turned around and said, "You're clapping because he's a kid and he's trying."
Hmm.
So I just thought that was really, really kind of crappy that
It's a
you
bush
got
league.
fans out there that think this is the major leagues. I mean, cut the kid a break. It's a midweek game. You're still up by 10 runs. I personally love the fact that freshmen are out there getting a chance. They're not going to perform every time. And I
No,
love it that there are coaches out there that will throw them out there and let them take their licks and learn. And we ought to be just cheering for those kids.
100%. And and it's a different level. I mean, you've experienced this in your own personal life with your son, but in Little League, every kid that's out there, every parent tries to put their kid in something, right? So in Little League, it's not always the cream of the crop. Then you get to high school and you thin it out a little bit. Then you get to college and you thin it out a lot more. It's not a, how I don't even dare to say this, but it's not a glorified babysitting thing anymore like it was in Little League. These are guys that want to play and that some of them will do it for a living. Some of them will be watching them at 7 o'clock at night here soon on any given night. So it's a different story. But man, that makes me
Well,
mad that
and
this,
contrary to popular belief, they are not trying to throw balls and they are not trying to give up hits. So if they do, you know, maybe, just maybe, the hitter beat him on that pitch.
yeah,
Okay, I think we should all live with that. And
right,
again, I can't emphasize it enough. The coaches that are out there that aren't riding seniors and juniors this whole season and are playing freshmen should get a kudos for that. And if the kid takes his lumps, it's a coaching opportunity. That's what you want. So help him get better.
100%. What about let's talk, you and I talked about this in the pre-show, but let's talk about strength of schedule. Um, if you're not familiar with this and where this goes into play and how this goes into play, understand that some college coaches want to test their kids as much as they can. Others back off a little bit on how much they test their kids. So I'm gonna I'm gonna say strength of schedule becomes a big thing. So Dave, talk to me about this.
So it's a big deal when it comes to tournament time, and we're probably, I don't know, 7 weeks away from 6 weeks away from conference tournaments, 7 weeks away from announcing the tournament field and who's hosting regionals. And hosting a regional is a big deal, and that there's 16 regionals, 64 teams in the tournament, so only 16 of them get to host. So strength of schedule is pretty much what dictates that in the NCAA's eyes. So um, strength of schedule moves around. You could have played, I don't know, UCLA early in the season, and maybe their strength of schedule at that point was a 50, and now it's 8 because they've been kicking butt and playing really good teams. So since you played them, your strength of schedule goes up, even though you played them a month ago. Um, and then the counterpoint is true too. Like if your schedule's loaded up at the front end with a lot of good teams and the strength really isn't there the last month of the season, your RPI, it's really, really hard to move it up. So if your goal is to host and maybe you blew a series here and there against some really good teams early, it's going to haunt you the rest of the season. And you got SEC teams out there that take a lot of crap for booking a lot of lower level teams on their midweeks, which I'm not crazy about, but you got to also balance that off with, they're beating the crap out of each other every week, every weekend. The Georgias, the Tennessees, the LSUs, A&Ms, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, they're beating on each other every weekend. So their strength of schedule will take care of itself.
Yeah. Is there any teams out there that you're watching their strength of schedule and you're looking at it and saying, "Oh, gee, they got some tough stuff coming up."
Yeah, we were looking earlier at the predicted strength of schedule, which kind of looks into the future and kind of looks at what the rest of their schedule looks like. And gosh, I think we looked at LSU as a gauntlet. Um, which other one did we look at that was a gauntlet? There's a few of them. Most of the SEC teams, you could pretty much take your pick, and I mean it's rough. And I think too, some of the Big 12 teams have a tough time going forward.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And again, strength of schedule is a big deal. It's a big deal on how things are ranked. It's a big deal on what players see. But again, sometimes sometimes as a player, you don't pay attention much. You don't care. Other times you do. And
I'm looking at Louisville right now, just randomly.
okay,
Louisville's going to play Clemson, Kentucky, Florida State, Notre Dame, Vanderbilt, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest. That's how they close out their season. They've got a couple of midweeks there that maybe aren't as strong, but Clemson's got an RPI of 2. Vanderbilt's 6 right now. Georgia Tech's 13. I mean, there's no real opportunity there to take a breath.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's key, right? You do everything matters, right? You can't say, oh well, this game, this series, we can let off the gas because again, not only getting to the tournament is your goal, but you want to host. You want to be at home as much as you possibly can in front of your home fans. Make people
And I
come to
mean,
you.
the reality is 48 teams won't host, and they're going to have to go on the road and win.
Mhm.
But if you can control your destiny, you'd really, really like to. And then from there, the super regional just gets even tighter. So um, it's great for these teams to get off on a good foot and kind of see a little success before the competition really ratchets up. I'm looking at Baylor right now in the Big 12, and they're going
Mhm.
to play Texas Tech. They've got TCU, Arizona State, Oklahoma State, um, reasonably tough. Uh, let's find Kansas State. Kansas State was leading the Big 12 up until last weekend when they kind of took it on the chin.
Mhm.
Kennesaw State is number 1 in RPI right now, believe it or not.
Okay.
It's just cool to kind of mess around with this data and just see what they're doing and what people are thinking here. Here's K-State, um, UCF, Kansas, Houston, West Virginia, Cincinnati. Most of their tough teams are behind them,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
they should have a better time going forward.
Yeah. It's a little bit batty, right? But again, you play them out. You play them out as much as you can, and you talked about Arizona State being ranked and losing to Arizona and not being ranked anymore.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, and that's an in-state rivalry, so those games, I mean, throw all the records out the window, throw everything out the window. They want to beat each other for bragging rights more than anything else. And unfortunately, we one game swing. If we win one game, we take 2 out of 3, and it's a different story.
Yeah,
We were looking at Arkansas earlier on the projected strength of schedule. Here's Arkansas, your number 1 team in the country right now. They get Georgia, A&M, Florida, and then they finish with Texas, LSU, and Tennessee. So they play 2, 3, and 4, current 2, 3, or 4, the last 3 weekends of the season. So if that doesn't get you ready for the tournament, I don't know what does.
so Dave, we've talked about this on and offline over the years. Are you the guy that is you want to clinch early, get guys some rest, get guys some chance to gear up for the tournament? Are you the type of guy that wants to go up to the last game, giving everybody the pressure cooker environment to go into the season or into the tourney hot?
I think 2 things. One, I think you want to have your guys um, hot and feeling good about how they're seeing the ball or how they're pitching. But the other
Mhm.
thing too is, you're going to go into these conference tournaments and you want to make a name for yourself there. And you can get an automatic bid if maybe you're on the bubble. So you kind of have to go all in,
Yeah,
and and you still have the opportunity to change your positioning too. I mean, there might be somebody that's on the bubble of hosting, or maybe you're on the bubble of being a 3 or a 2 seed in a regional. Those things matter. So I think you got to have the your pedal on the metal the whole way through.
yeah, yeah. Um, I think at this level you do. When you're talking about the MLB level, there's so many games in such a short period of time. There's only 18 days off over 6.5 months. So it's a different
Yeah,
story. If you clinch 2 weeks ahead of time, well, then that's awesome. But when you're talking about college, I agree with you. I think you have to have your foot on the gas the entire time. If you don't, you could find yourself either in a situation that is not favorable, where you're going to end up with a bunch of crazy teams that you play get knocked around, or even miss the playoffs or even miss the tournament completely.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
It could happen. So you want to keep uh, your future in your own hands, and um, that's why these midweek games are important. That's why it's important to get these younger guys into the lineup to see what you have, so that you've got some reinforcements if you need them. Um, you're not relying on the same five relievers every weekend. You've got a couple other guys maybe down there that'll give you a little depth. Same thing on the offensive side. So that's why these coaches have to get these kids in and get them battle tested a little bit as much as you can so that when you need them, they're ready.
yeah, and the other thing too is we're at that point in the season. I mean, again, we're almost halfway through April, and the tournament starts not very much time from now. You're at that point now where you have to play really good fundamental baseball, and you have to stay away from uh, the physical mistakes are going to come and go, but you have to stay away from the mental ones.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, these are kids, they're going to make mistakes, but, we need to throw strikes and we need to have really, really good sound at bats and good approaches to the plate. We saw LSU, the pitcher, throw 120 pitches last week, complete game victory. I mean, hats off to that kid. Not quite sure I do that this time of the season, knowing that I need him in the tournament, but that's why I'm on a podcast and I'm not coaching. So, um,
Hey.
but it's load management at that point, and it's trying to figure out who your hot hand is and just try to keep them healthy and keep them ready to go for when you're going to need them.
So the one thing that I would love to see coaches do more, and again, this is why you and I are both on podcast and we're not in the dugout right now. At this point in the season, I would love to see on the offensive side to be able to teach, and this is a really fine line, Dave. I don't know how you teach this to a group of people their age without them. They just have to understand, I'll call it situational awareness, right? You want them to be aggressive at the plate, but you also have to read. So you want your number one guy goes out there in the very first inning and he walks on 6 pitches, right? Your number two guy goes out there and he walks um on another 6 pitches. Obviously, the guy's thrown 4 strikes and 8 balls at that point. If I'm the number three batter, got to understand the situation, right? This guy's probably going to throw you dead red because he's going to try to get ahead. So take the opportunity. But if it's the other way around, where guys get walked, the first guy gets on with a hit and the next guy walks on 4 pitches, maybe you see a strike before you start swinging. Why be aggressive, right? So I wish that we could teach that more, but that's tough.
It is tough, and baseball at this level is tough. It's tough to get strikeouts. It's tough to get these guys out. It's tough to hit against these pitchers. I mean, this is big boy baseball, so um, I think you got to cut these kids some slack once in a while and just know that they're kids. It's the beauty of college baseball. I mean,
Mhm.
depending on what you're watching, I mean, a five, a six, a eight, a 10-run lead may or may not be safe, and
Yeah.
that makes it exciting.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
look on the positive side. Like, you know what? If you're down, you got a chance. If you're in the MLB, there's probably four guys in the bullpen that are gonna lock you down. In college baseball, maybe, maybe not, you know. So
No,
that's part of what makes it exciting. So
agreed.
embrace it. I mean, and these kids are trying and they want to be big leaguers, and you need to support them, and they need to play, and they're not a finished product. So let them play and let them figure it out.
Agreed. Agreed. I mention all of that just because, I've been watching a lot of baseball recently, a lot of baseball, and at all levels. And sometimes at certain levels, they don't have situational awareness that sometimes you gotta,
Yeah.
when they're professional athletes, you can apply as much justice as you want, right? They're battle tested, they're ready to go. When they're college athletes, especially if they're underclassmen, freshmen, sophomores, they may not be battle tested at that level, right?
Yeah, and I think the best example is just on the pitching side. You need to err on the side of throwing strikes and
Mm,
err on the side of pitching to contact because the odds are with you, and the walks and hit batters will land you on the bench.
mhm.
So you're better off giving up hits. You're better off competing. You're better off challenging hitters. On the hitting side, I think more often than not, you need to get deep in counts.
Mhm.
You need to be able to get to the fifth, the sixth, the seventh pitch in an at bat. And if you can do that, you're going to play. If you're
Yeah,
going to be out in two pitches, if you're going to swing at the first pitch and pop up, knowing that this kid is owning you and his pitch count's low, and so we got to get deep in counts. I think those two things to me are kind of the cheat codes for success.
100%, 100%, 100%. I agree. Okay, so we covered the top 25. We covered individual performances. We covered team performances. We covered strength of schedule. What else do we want to cover in the last minute or two of the show?
Well, I guess upcoming schedule, right?
Yeah,
What do we got going on this weekend? Tennessee is at Ole Miss, 5-6. That's going to be a hell of a battle.
that's going to be a
Arkansas is
great
at
battle.
Georgia, pretty good battle right there. Big 12, Kansas is at TCU, good battle
Kansas is
right
at
there.
TCU.
Yeah, that's going to be some good baseball. Oklahoma State, who has not played well but is showing signs of life, is in Tucson at U of A. That would be my dark horse series. I have a sneaky suspicion Oklahoma State's going to give them everything they can handle.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Um, you have um, you have a couple others here in SoCal that are relatively interesting too. UCI, who is oddly good. They have UC Davis. They have LMU until we talk again, and they have Hawaii. So not huge powerhouses that they're playing against, but all it takes is lose 2 out of 3 to UC Davis at Davis, or lose that midweek game against Loyola Marymount, or lose 2 out of 3 in Hawaii against Hawaii, right?
Yeah,
So that's all it takes, and then you're stuck.
it's college
So
baseball. That's what we just talked about, right?
yes, sir. That's what makes it exciting. That's what makes it fun, right? So,
Absolutely, absolutely.
well, for you Top Fan Rivalry supporters that are listening to this on the audio version, we appreciate you. If you're listening to this on YouTube, just please understand that Dave and I are have been told multiple times we have faces for radio, so we do our best at this point to provide what we can. We appreciate you listening to there. We'll be back in a week or two to discuss more, and as the tournament gets closer and closer, we'll be on a lot more, including some lives. So
Yeah, I need to
appreciate you,
get
Dave.
alive. I need to get you alive at Phoenix Muni because that's where I spend most of my time. And then my travel schedule is to Stillwater, Oklahoma, middle of May. So we got to get alive there.
I would love that. I would love that. All right, my great and good friend. Until we do this again in another week or two,
Sounds good.
have a good one.
See ya.